the matter? It's just another day, another black king captured. I'm about to lose my brain, stuck inside this ghetto rapture. I got a lot of smoke, if you want it, you can have it. They want a hat trick, but this is black girl magic. Ain't talking about the kind that'll make you disappear, but I'm talking about the power of the melanin within. Ain't looking for trouble, but I'ma say this one time. I put 2 dukes up if you try to touch mine. We still want justice for Tamir and Trayvon. You say you don't see color, but racism ain't blind. They targeting little kids whose skin look just like mine. So I'm paranoid, it's a war zone outside. And I'm a black queen, so if you ask me to step out of my car, you gon' have to snatch me. Cause I ain't going no damn well. Had to spend my whole life living unfair. Ancestors got my back and they right here. You can never understand, it's a nightmare. Living in my black shoes by the black rules. You can keep your handshake, I don't dap coons. The white man will go nuts if he cash you. But you all on his side like a damn fool. Make it make sense.
We are oppressed.
Queen.
We are exploited. We are downtrodden.
Make it make
Queen.
We are
sense.
denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Ahmadiyyah.
So the only way we're going to get some of this
Ahmadiyyah.
oppression and exploitation
Queen.
away from us or aside from us is come together
Queen.
against the common enemy. Who taught you to hate the texture of your
Ahmadiyyah.
hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin?
Ahmadiyyah.
Parents, pay attention to the books, the school system, even to your little children. Lies mixed with wisdom. His skin too bright, so he was blind to the prison. My skin just right, so I collide with division. You trying to pray to God, but we tired of religion. No savior saving, we got to save our savings. We used to pay miss, how we gon' make the slave rich? But who's to blame, and tell me why you complaining? We need a team effort just to rule the nation. Like a bad relationship, missing communication. We missing moderation. They're trying to get a poison to my population. No reparations, I'm getting tired of Satan.
We are oppressed.
I'm
Queen.
getting tired of waiting.
We are downtrodden.
Queen.
We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Ahmadiyyah.
So the only way we're going to get some of this
Ahmadiyyah.
oppression and exploitation
Queen.
In my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunsa. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all in Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get mad. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threat.
This is the sound of Eric
It's a cut on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threat. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans, and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me?
Difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life, but sometimes you gotta do that. I was fucked up, fucked up, fucked up, fucked up. I was fucked up, fucked up, fucked up, fucked up. I was fucked up, fucked up, fucked up, fucked up. I was fucked up, fucked up, fucked up. When I did it, I was fucked up, fucked up, fucked up, fucked up. I was fucked up, fucked up, fucked up, fucked up. I was fucked up, fucked up, fucked up, fucked up. I was fucked up, fucked up, fucked up, fucked up. When I did it, I was fucked up. When I did it, I was fucked up. When I did it, I was fucked up, fucked up, fucked up. When I did it, I was fucked up. When I did it, I was fucked up. When I did it, I was fucked up, fucked up, fucked up. I was fucked up, fucked up, fucked up, fucked up. I was fucked up, fucked up, fucked up, fucked up. I was fucked up, fucked up, fucked up, fucked up. When I did fucked up.
To apologize. It's too
When I did it, I was fucked up.
late to apologize.
I was fucked up. When I did it, I was fucked up. I was fucked up. I mean, I hit rock bottom, but I made no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video.
Now you see now, you done fucked up, you know that, don't you? You know you done fucked up.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your Sunday vitamin. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, so let's get ready to get into it. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Okay, hold on just a second. All right. Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry. I'm sending something to my email. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's get into it. So listen, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Dr_A_Shakur, TikTok at Dr. A. Shakur, Twitter at DGoddess27. And as per usual, if you don't like what the Queen is cooking, you already know what to do. All right? And so let's get into it. Let's see who's in here. Okay, about damn time. Ethylene is here. Red Wine Entertainment. Sandra, Lala D. Will is here. All hell nah. 504 Nola. Bithia. Above all that drama. Desmond. Shout out to my moderators because they really do put in work. Okay, hell, hey y'all TV is here. Said Queen, you done a video about Rick Ross and Tia Kemp's son being pew pew. No, I didn't, beloved. No, I didn't. I heard about it. I heard about it. Okay, so let's get into it. Above all that drama said exit stage left trolls. Okay, hey Antoinette. All right, Bithia. Okay, so shout out to everyone in the chat and everyone tuned into the Queen. Let's get into it because I have quite a bit of information. Miss Cookie said, Queen looking radiant. Radiant. Thank you, beloved. Hey, Adrienne. And Buckhorst DC, Root Trackers is in here. April. All right. All right, let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance. Now, I'm sure all of you have heard the story of the Menendez brothers, okay, who murdered their parents in 1989. There was recently a movie that came out on Netflix called Monsters, the true story of Eric and Lyle Menendez. Now, that has brought new attention to the story, and many people who never heard about it or knew very little about it are now talking about it. It's pretty much trending. Okay, so for about a week or two, I had been planning on doing this video that I'm doing right now, but I hadn't gotten around to it because of all the stuff going on with Kabami, and her foolishness, Trump, and then, pretty much the election 2024, and then not to mention all of the stuff coming out on Diddy every day. So now I have time today, so we're going to get into it because I have found a connection between this case, the Menendez brothers case, and Diddy's, and it's all very nefarious, okay? So let's talk about it. Hey, Donna. All right, Dangerous is in the chat. All right, I have the most nefarious chat on ScrewTube. Okay, make no mistake. Now, with that been said, let's talk about it because for those of you who don't know, these young men murdered their parents okay, in cold blood, in a very vicious and heinous manner in 1989. Now, they went to trial, and the first trial was a hung jury, okay? And then they had another trial in 96, I believe that was the year, in 96, and then they were found guilty and sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Now, I myself always felt like, and this is just my opinion, you don't have to agree with me, but I always felt like, though they committed a heinous act, of course, it was just going too far. There are other things they could have done. But at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, their father, I believe that their father was doing nefarious things to them. The things that they said when I saw the testimony, when I went over the information and all of the stuff that was presented online and everything like that, I believed. I literally believed. And especially when I saw them testify specifically, I believe it was Lyle Menendez. When I saw him testify, I believed everything that he was saying about his father, and the fact that he was going bald as a teenager, losing his hair. Well, that just led me to think, and they didn't say anything about him having alopecia. That led me to think that this is coming from someone who has been traumatized, who has been stressed, and going through something that's very significant that is causing a great deal of strain, worry, and even depression in them, that is leading for their hair to fall out at such a young age, because it didn't appear to be hereditary. His brother had a full head of hair. His father had a full head of hair. Okay. So with that all been said, I just thought it was all very interesting. But now that I find out some other things, I definitely think that their father was doing the things that they say that he was doing. And it's all nefarious. Okay. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. And like I said, feel free to have contrary opinions. Okay. Don't feel like you have to go along with me at the end of the day, because you all know I welcome disagreements as long as you're being respectful. All right. And so let's talk about it. Like stuff, everyone, please like and share. Now, this is an article about the new information that has come out. They say when the Los Angeles District Attorney announced last week that his office would review new evidence in the Menendez case, and let me just put a few pictures up on the screen. Well, never mind. I'll do that in a second. So when he announced that he would review new evidence in the Menendez case, it marked the first time in decades that the brothers had any hope of release. Eric and Lyle Menendez have been in prison since their 1996 conviction in the killings of their father, Jose, and their mother, Kitty, in 1989. Now, the fatal shooting of a prominent entertainment executive and his wife in Beverly Hills at the hands of their own children, this captured national attention 3 decades ago. And their first trial was televised by Court TV and has reached a new generation thanks to social media and numerous TV dramas and docuseries. Now, the brothers have long denied the prosecution's claims that they were driven by greed and a desire to inherit a multi-million-dollar fortune, and argued that they killed their parents in self-defense after years of sexual, physical, and psychological abuse by their father. Earlier this month, George Gascon, the LA District Attorney, said that his office would review new evidence and decide whether the case should be considered for resentencing or a new trial. Now, the new evidence includes a letter written by Eric Menendez that his attorney said corroborates the allegations that he had been abused by his father, as well as allegations from a former member of the boy band Menudo. Okay, now this is very important. This is where it gets into the Diddy stuff. Now, who said that Jose Menendez, previously an executive at RCA Records, had abused him. Okay, the issue is not whether the brothers killed their parents, but their degree of culpability, according to Gascon. He says, we have not decided on an outcome. Okay, this is what he said at a press conference that they held. He says, we're reviewing the information, but I think it's also important that we recognize that both men and women can be the victim of assault. You see, here's the thing. Back when this happened in August of 1989, it wasn't really talked about as far as children being, specifically wealthy. People who came from a wealthy household with parents that are elite and all of this, it wasn't really talked about, and almost was inconceivable to think that someone of Jose Menendez's stature would do such heinous and nefarious things to his own children. And because the boys came from a wealthy family, and they were supposedly going to inherit, the estate in the death of their father and mother, many people thought that it was greed that drove them to do this. And not to mention, they didn't make it look any better for themselves when after the father and mother were killed, they went on a shopping spree, spending in excess of about $700,000, okay, months after and before they went to trial. So all of that looks like, okay, yeah, y'all did this for money. But let's keep in mind that they were teenagers, and teenagers are foolish and do foolish things at the end of the day. Okay, so with that all being said, well, at least Eric, the younger one, was a teenager. Okay, now with that all being said, so in August of 1989, Lyle and Eric, then 21 and 18, shot their parents with shotguns multiple times as the couple was eating ice cream and watching television in their Beverly Hills mansion. Okay, the two killings were so violent that police suspected it could have been connected to organized crime. Okay, that's how nefarious it was. Please pay attention. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Now, how did they go from this? Living a life of lavish with wealthy parents, going on boating trips, taking fancy vacations, wearing the highest expensive name brand clothes, having Rolexes and all of that, to this. Now, the killings were so violent, they thought it was organized crime. That's what the police thought. Now, at about 6 months later, police arrested the brothers, who prosecutors said went on a major spending spree in the wake of the killings, and they were charged with first-degree murder. Now, at their first trial, they testified that their mother had done nothing to stop their father's abuse and that they feared their parents were about to kill them to prevent them from telling anyone about the abuse. The trial included testimony from family members corroborating their abuse allegations and even an expert witness for the defense who found the allegations valid. Okay? Who found these allegations valid and an originating cause in the crime. Because, this is like what some people call, I wouldn't say a crime of passion, but you have to think about someone being mentally distraught and someone being traumatized over a period of years, not just months, and these things happening to them. I would think that someone would sit back and start plotting how to get out of this, how to make it all stop. Okay, this to me is no different than when a teenager or a young person is trafficked and then they take out the person who's doing it. To me, this is no difference. The only difference is that this person happens to be their parent, and this person wasn't trafficking them to other people, but was doing things to them himself. And I don't say allegedly because I believe he absolutely was. Okay, so with that all being said, let's continue. Now, with that all being said, at their first trial, they testified that their mother, okay, read all that already. Okay, so jurors were unable to reach a verdict, resulting in a mistrial. But at a second trial in 1996, in which testimony about the abuse allegations was limited, and see, now that right there, I thought that was kind of shady, because when they had the second trial, they didn't want another hung jury. The prosecution wanted to win and felt like they deserved what they were trying to get them. Okay, they really wanted them to get the death penalty. But at the end of the day, that second trial, they really didn't want them talking so much about the abuse allegations. And so therefore, if you don't have the abuse allegations included in the trial, do you think the jury is really going to have empathy and sympathy for them, or even understand why they would do something so heinous unless it was for the love of money? So goes on to say that they were convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. In the years since, the brothers have been reunited in prison. They have earned college degrees and served as mentors and caregivers. Now, a slew of documentaries and TV shows helped keep the story in the public eye. During the pandemic, the case was highlighted in viral TikToks that helped bring it into the spotlight for a much younger audience. The killings were the subject of a Ryan Murphy show released last month, which was criticized by the Menendez family, which Murphy said he was inspired by content creators who had taken up the cause, criticizing media coverage of the case and advocating for the brothers' release, saying these are thousands of TikToks from young people, specifically young women talking about the Lyle and Eric case, Murphy said. Okay, he said, I was blown away, but it seems so current to them. Now, Trey Gober, a Texas trial lawyer who previously worked with the New York-based Innocence Project, Now, I worked with the Innocence Project too, okay, when I was in college. Now, said social media had been pivotal in the case. Social media has played a crucial role in keeping the Menendez brothers' case in the public eye, captivating public interest and putting political pressure on the district attorney to re examine the evidence. Now, the brothers have expressed gratitude for the support and movement online. The followers who are younger that are on that sort of TikTok social media generation, they really have been a tremendous help, says Lyle Menendez. He says, I feel more hope when society seems to be understanding these experiences and S abuse better. Now, Eric Menendez has warned against minimizing their crimes. He says, this tragedy has been deep, and every member of my family has been impacted. And sometimes I think a lot of pain and tragedy gets lost in translation in some of the TikTok videos. So I think that it's important that we remember that two people are no longer alive and families have been devastated by this tragedy, and that I am at the center of it. I am the one responsible. I don't want that to be diminished or minimized in any way by people that support me and believe in me. Now, for the first time since their convictions, the brothers have a chance of being released from prison. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. So the district attorney has received petitions from the brothers asking for a resentencing as well as a review of the new evidence, which includes a letter sent to a family member before the killings in which Eric Menendez talked about being a victim of molestation. None of this information has been confirmed. So they say we have a moral and an ethical obligation to review what is being presented to us and make a determination whether they deserve to be resentenced, even though they were clearly the murderers because they have been in prison for 35 years and have paid back their dues to society, or whether habeas is appropriate if there was evidence that was not presented to the court at the time, and had it been, perhaps a jury would have come to a different conclusion. Sensitivity to S abuse has changed, according to Gascon. Okay, and a jury today would probably look at this case differently. There is no question they committed the killing. The question is, to what degree of culpability should they be held accountable to the totality of the circumstances? Now, Niyama Ramini, the president of West Coast Trial Lawyers and a former federal prosecutor, who, by the way, has spoken a lot and extensively about Diddy's case. And I have used some of his talking points or played his audio of him speaking on Diddy's case. He's a legal expert. He says, I believe that Eric and Lau were abused and they should be released. If Gascon agrees to a resentencing in the interest of justice, I think that's the clearest path for the brothers. Now, Gober said the brothers could also be granted a new trial in which a jury could examine the new evidence, or a plea deal, perhaps to a lesser charge, that would allow them to be released with time served. Well, in my opinion, either of those would be great because I think they've been in prison long enough. That's just my opinion. Now, likes up, everyone, please. Don't forget to like and share. So it's also important to note that many individuals who don't receive as much attention won't have the same opportunity for their cases to be reexamined. Okay, for every Menendez brother, there are 10 more inmates who never got this kind of publicity, and they will die in prison. Okay, so keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Now, let's go through a timeline of the events. Let's go through a timeline of the events. So, August of 1989, let's start there. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance. Jose Menendez, an executive at RCA Records, and his wife, Kitty Menendez, are shot and killed by shotgun blast in their Beverly Hills mansion. Lau called 911 and said, someone killed my parents. March 1990, Lyle is arrested by police and Eric turns himself in days later after they confess to their therapist. They are accused of first-degree murder. July of 1993, the Menendez brothers go on trial in a Los Angeles courtroom, each with a separate jury, in a trial televised on court TV. Prosecutors argued that they killed their parents for financial gain. The brothers' defenses admitted they killed their parents, but argued that they acted out of self-defense after years of emotional, psychological, and abuse by their father. January of 1994. Now, both juries deadlock and cannot reach a verdict. October of 1995, a retrial of the brothers begins with one jury. This time, we see they were tried separately, okay, and then they tried them together. Okay, so this time around, much of the defense evidence about S abuse is excluded, according to defense attorneys. That's their mother, Kitty, by the way, their father, Jose. That's a prison photo. Now, and I believe that's Eric, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's definitely, no, I'm sorry, that's Lyle, the one whose hair was falling out when he was even a teenager. Okay, so now, March of 1996, the jury convicts both brothers of first degree murder. July of 1996, the brothers are sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. May of 2023, in the Peacock docuseries Menendez plus Menudo, Boys Betrayed, a former member of the boy band Menudo. Some of you youngins probably never heard of Menudo, but this was a group of Mexican teenagers, and they would age out at the age of 15. Once they turned 15 or 16, they were replaced in the group. They wanted to keep the group's appearance looking youthful, and they just wanted them to keep looking youthful and basically have young voices. Okay, when your voice started to change, or you got to be a certain age, they would put you out of the group. Okay, so this was in May of 2023. A former member of the boy band Menudo said in a sworn affidavit that he was raped by Jose Menendez when he was 14 years old. He was about 14, he says. Now, attorneys for the Menendez brothers filed a habeas petition asking the court to reconsider the conviction and sentence in light of new evidence from the Menudo band member and from a letter Eric wrote about the abuse prior to the killings. You see, because this is important to find out that the letter was written prior to, because many people felt like they were just using the abuse excuse, like they were just making this up, like their father never did anything nefarious to them, and that they're just saying this now because they've been caught. Okay, and that there was never a mention of it before, but actually there was. And in fact, I believe it was Eric who, at the age of 12, had supposedly told one of his cousins that he actually was being abused by his own father. Okay, please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, so September of 2024, okay, of September of 2024, Netflix releases the crime drama Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story, a 9-episode series co-created by Ryan Murphy and Ian Brennan about the killings. Now, the show is really more interested in talking about how monsters are made as opposed to being born, according to Murphy. Okay. In a statement shared on social media by his wife, Eric Menendez criticizes the show's horrible and blatant lies and says that the show takes the truth back to an era when the prosecution built a narrative on a belief system that males were not abused and that males experienced great trauma differently than women. saying those awful lies have been disrupted and exposed by countless brave victims over the last 2 decades who have broken through their personal shame and bravely spoken out. So now Murphy shapes his horrible narrative through vile and appalling character portrayals of Lyle and of me and disheartening slander. Now, this is what Eric said, how he felt about the documentary. Another thing that neither of the brothers liked about that documentary, as I was reading about it, they didn't like the fact of how they portrayed them as possibly having an incestuous relationship with each other. And I was shocked to see that in the documentary too, because I'm like, where are they getting this from? That was never said. That was never even implied during the trial, during anything that I've ever read. I'm like, where did they get this from? It seems like they put it in there to sensationalize it. That's just my opinion. But the brothers were clearly upset and bothered by that. It's bad enough that they had to expose the fact that of these things their father supposedly did to them. But then for someone to put it in a movie, that they had something going with each other, which they say is absolutely not true. And they were very upset by that, as I would have been too. So October the 5th of 2024, Gascon, the LA County District Attorney, tells CNN's Jim Acosta that he increasingly became concerned that it was critical that we review the new evidence put forth by the defense. He noted that times had changed regarding how the public and the courts treat victims of S abuse, saying there is no question that our sensitivity to S assault is much more significant today. It has been clearly established that both men and women can be S assaulted, or boys and girls. I think 35 years ago, cultural norms were a little different. There is no question that a jury today would look at this case probably very differently than a jury 35 years ago. He also notes that the shows and films about the case had an impact. Okay, now here's the thing. I agree. Like I told you, back then it was almost unheard of for a wealthy family to have such a scandal. Okay, for the children to lash out and take the lives of the parents, but also for this, type of these salacious allegations to come out in a courtroom, no less. And then to find out that someone whom many people thought was an upstanding citizen, such as Jose, and then Kitty Menendez, because they said that she knew about what was going on and did absolutely nothing to stop it. And so this was just all such a shock and a scandal that many people just couldn't fathom it. This is a picture of the crime scene. Jose and Kitty were sitting on that sofa eating ice cream, supposedly, and watching TV when the boys came in and took them out in a hail of gunfire. Okay, so please pay attention. With that all being said, let me see what you guys are talking about. That's why the mom had to take a ride too, says above all that drama. Okay, Raina says, I know Mario Lopez was on Kids Incorporated prior to Saved by the Bell. Okay. Ryan Murphy. Okay, Miss Shay, I get how you feel about Ryan Murphy, but please be careful with your comments, beloved, okay? We don't want to disparage anyone or any particular group of people, okay? Thank you. Please just keep that in mind. All right. So with that all been said, let's have a word from my sponsor, and then I'm going to show some clips of the trial, okay? So you all can see for yourselves, for those of you who've never actually watched it. Fortunately, it's all over the internet now, specifically on YouTube. Okay, so with that all been said, let's have a word from my sponsor.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so you can purchase 12 Tribes at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts, and you can also find it at Walmart.com. Okay, so let's get into it. Likes up, everyone. Please don't forget to like and share. Remember, it doesn't cost you a single thing. You can do it absolutely for free. All right. So I'm going to put an overlay on this. All right, here we go. Now, this is Lyle, the oldest brother, who was 21 at the time of the massacre, whatever you want to call it, the time they murdered their parents.
Just started with, after sports practices, he would massage me. And we would have these talks, and he would show me, and he would fondle me, and he would ask me to do the same with him, and I would touch him, and we would undress.
Where would this take place?
In my bedroom.
And how often would this happen?
Like 2 or 3 times a week.
And for how long did this happen?
Not too long. It began to change.
When did it begin to change?
I'm not sure exactly at what time, but almost close to when I was 7.
And how did it change?
Just became more involved.
What do you mean more involved?
We would be in the bathroom, and he would put me on my knees, and he would guide me, all my movements, and I would have oral sex with him.
Now, this is absolutely deplorable and sickening and very heartbreaking. He was 7 years old. 7 years old, okay? Please pay attention. And the sad thing is, like I said, when this incident happened in 1989, nobody believed them when they were saying the father did these things. Nobody believed him. It seemed inconceivable. But let's continue.
Do you want to do this? At some point, did he do some other things to you?
Yes.
What else did he do to you?
He used objects.
What kind of objects?
A toothbrush and some sort of shaving utensil brush.
And what would he do with the toothbrush?
Well, in the bedroom, we'd have what we called object sessions, and just slide my pants down or take my pants off. Sometimes it would be for a short period of time, sometimes longer. Just lay me on the bed and he'd have a tube of Vaseline, and he just played with me.
And was there some point in time when he decided to use something besides the toothbrush?
Yes.
And did he try to anally penetrate you with something else?
He did.
And what was it?
He raped me.
Did you cry?
Yes.
Did you bleed?
Yes.
Were you scared?
Very.
Did you ask him not to?
Yes.
How did you ask him not to?
I just told him, I don't. I just told him that I didn't want to do this and that it hurt me. And he said that he didn't mean to hurt me. And he loved me.
Was that important to you, that he loved you?
Yes, very. But I still didn't want to do it.
Did you tell your mom?
Yes.
What did you say to your mom?
I told her to tell Dad to leave me alone. And he keeps touching me.
What did your mom say?
She told me to stop it. And that I was exaggerating. And that my dad has to punish me when I do things wrong. And she told me that he loved me.
Did you ever tell anybody else?
When?
Did you ever tell anybody else when you were a child? You heard Diane Vandermolen testify. Do you
Yes.
remember telling her?
No.
Did you complain to your cousin Alan?
No, not about that.
Just about punishment. As a child, did you ever tell anybody else what had happened with your dad?
Yes. As a child, no.
Why not?
I was afraid, and my dad didn't want me to.
What did he tell you about telling people?
He just said that it was our secret. That bad things would happen to me if I told anybody. And I told him I never would.
How old were you when this stopped?
8.
So during the time between 6 and 8, when this was going on, did you tell your brother? Did you do something to your brother?
Yes.
What did you do to your brother?
I took him out to the woods. Whenever I felt, I don't know, I took him out sometimes. And I took a toothbrush also. And I played with Eric in the same way. And I'm sorry.
It stopped for you with your dad when you were 8. When you were about 13, did you think that it might be happening to someone else?
Yes.
And who did you think it was happening to?
Eric.
And did you do something about it?
Yes.
What did you do?
I talked to my dad.
What did you say to your dad?
I told him that I knew what was going on with him and Eric, and I heard noises, and that I wanted him to leave Eric alone.
Okay, so that was very hard to watch. Okay, that was very hard to watch. And at the end of the day, I don't see how anyone who heard that testimony could think that he was lying, that he made that stuff up. It sounded very real to me, a whole lot of emotion, and very tragic that that happened to him at the age of 6 when it all started. Now, if you ask me, the mother was absolutely complicit, according to what he says and what his brother Eric says. And at the end of the day, I think that's why they took her out as well. Okay. Some people couldn't fathom it. Like I said, back when the trial first started back in 1989, people, I read that some people were saying, well, if the father was doing this, why did they take out the mother? Well, because she was complicit. There are many women, especially women who are married to men with money and power. They're not going to divorce them. They're not going to say anything about the things they do. They'll just act as though they don't see it. They won't protect their children because they want to stay getting the money and living the lavish lifestyle that they have. And I believe that absolutely was the case. Now, with that all being said, let's talk about how this ties into Diddy's case. Well, here's the thing. At the end of the day, because their father was an executive with RCA Records. He worked in the music industry. And there has for decades been stories that we've all heard about the nefarious things that go on in the music industry, and specifically how children are abused, assaulted, and all of these things in the music industry. This wasn't as well known back then. It probably wasn't known at all back then. If it was kept quiet, like an open secret, perhaps. But this definitely wasn't something that people were talking about on a regular basis. We weren't hearing a lot of stories about it like we're hearing now, especially with the whole Diddy case going on. But not only did their father work in the music industry, now it's come to light that, like I told you guys, the young man who was in Menudo back then says that Jose Menendez did this to him. But what he said about how it all was carried out sounds very reminiscent of the things that we've heard about Diddy and how Diddy's victims said that he did things to them. So let's get into it because I'm going to play the footage. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Okay, like and share. Here we go.
Convicted of murdering their parents more than 3 decades ago. Interest in this case has exploded recently with a 10-part series and a documentary, both on Netflix, along with a growing fan base supporting them on social media. Then last week, the LA DA announcing he's finally reviewing new evidence that surfaced more than a year ago. Evidence which seemingly supports the brothers' claims that they were sexually abused by their father. We'll take a look at the evidence, the trials, the testimony from both brothers, and even the new politics surrounding it all. First, Laura Ingle has a look back at the case.
The mansion, the money, the perfect family. The 1980s was a golden era in Beverly Hills. Exclusive, excessive, and elite. And Lyle and Eric Menendez were golden boys, living a life of privilege thanks to their multi-millionaire father, Jose, a wildly successful RCA Records exec, and his glamorous, devoted wife, Kitty. But something sinister was brewing behind that wrought iron gate and those perfectly trimmed hedges. A saga of abuse, rage, and dark family secrets still unraveling 35 years later. It was the night of August 20th, 1989, when Lyle, then 21 years old, called 911, sobbing to the dispatcher that someone had killed his parents. The eviscerated bodies of Jose and Kitty Menendez lie nearby, both ripped apart by shotgun blasts delivered at close range.
Yes, please. What's the problem? What's the problem? What's the problem? They're trying to kill my parents. Pardon me? What? Who? Are they still there? Yes. The people... Oh, no. Were they shot? Hey, man, were they shot? Yes. They were shot? Yes.
Police arrived to a grisly scene. Blood and brain matter. Kitty had been shot trying to crawl away. The brothers are hysterical, crying, and not initially treated as suspects by authorities.
I told the detectives that I saw smoke, which would have been impossible if I didn't do it. It's pretty incredible. We were not arrested that night.
The brothers speaking out in the new Netflix documentary, The Menendez Brothers.
Everyone asks why we kill our parents. Maybe now people can understand the truth. My name is Eric Menendez. My name is Lyle Menendez, calling you from Donovan Correctional Facility. Lyle was the only person that has ever protected me. What happened that night is very well known, but so much hasn't been told.
But the police were watching as the brothers began spending their murdered parents' money days after their killings on Rolex watches, a Porsche, designer clothing, high-end cars, an elite tennis coach, real estate, and even a restaurant. A $1 million shopping spree in the span of 6 months. Bizarre behavior, and for prosecutors, it was all building a motive.
What they wanted was their lifestyle. They wanted freedom, and they wanted to be free from the idea that their father would somehow disinherit them.
On March 8, 1990, police arrest Lyle outside the Menendez family home for the murders of Jose and Kitty. After authorities get a tip, the brothers had confessed in recorded sessions with their therapist.
May not have had a choice at the time, but as it is now, he was somebody that I loved. I hate myself for doing it.
3 days later, Eric turns himself in at LAX, returning from a tournament in Israel, where he'd gone pro with that new coach. In the following 2 years, prosecutors and defense attorneys are locked in a legal battle over whether the brothers' therapy sessions can be used at trial. In August of 1992, the California Supreme Court ruling 2 of the tapes are admissible. The first trial begins on July 20th, 1993. The brothers are tried together, but with separate juries for each. Both Lyle and Eric testifying in court. And from the stand, they paint a graphic and horrific story of sexual abuse perpetrated at times by both parents, beginning in childhood, and of a domineering father who ruled and abused through force, even death threats, leaving Lyle and Eric, in their words, trapped with no way out.
Sadistic pleasure. They love to frighten them together, to vent their frustration and anger on.
March 20th, 1996. It took jurors just 16 hours of deliberation to convict.
I remember when the verdict came down. It was first degree. First degree meant spending the rest of my life in prison for the next 50, 60 years.
And an ethical obligation to review what is being presented to us.
That a full reckoning would erupt into view, propelled by a younger generation with a new understanding.
Money and power do. So now it's not so unfathomable that a man like this would do something to his sons. But back then they were ridiculed and called liars.
As social media momentum grows, new evidence suddenly emerges. On May 2nd of last year, explosive allegations from former Menudo boy band member Roy Rosello, claiming Jose Menendez drugged and raped him when he was just 14 years old and signed to RCA Records. Rosella speaking out in a documentary on Peacock.
I know what he did to me in his house. That's the man here that raped me. This guy, that's the pedophile. How old were you then? 14 years old.
And on May 23rd, 2023, an attorney for the Menendez brothers filing a new petition asking a judge to vacate Eric and Lyle's convictions. Revealed in those court documents, a handwritten letter from Eric Menendez to his cousin Andy, dated about 8 months before the murders, alluding to abuse by his father. It reads in part, I've been trying to avoid Dad. It's still happening, Andy, but it's worse for me now. Every night I stay up thinking he might come in. I'm afraid. He's crazy. He's warned me 100 times about telling anyone, especially lying. Yet it's not until October 3rd of this year, with Los Angeles District Attorney George Gascon locked in a tight re-election race and as interest and public pressure on the case crests with not one but two Netflix series, that the DA announces a full review of Eric and Lyle's murder convictions, including potential resentencing.
None of this information has been confirmed. We are not, at this point, ready to say that we either believe or do not believe that information. But we're here to tell you that we have a moral and an ethical obligation to review what is being presented to us and make a determination based on the sentencing side, whether they deserve to be resentenced, even though they were clearly the murderers, because they have been in prison for 35 years. They have paid back their dues to society, or whether habeas is appropriate if there was evidence that was not presented to the court at that time, and had that evidence been presented, perhaps a jury would have come to a different conclusion.
The next major milestone in the case is a court hearing at the end of November, in which the DA is expected to announce whether he'll support the brothers' petition. It could lead to resentencing or a new trial, and potentially a new chapter in this decades-long family drama turned societal phenomena. As reports have it, TV execs are already circling for the brothers' first public appearances, if and when they walk free.
When the Menendez brothers went on trial for first-degree murder in July of 1993, it was really one of the first big televised trials, with millions glued to their screens. Both brothers would opt to take the stand in their own defense. They would admit to fatally shooting their parents' shotguns, but would argue they acted out of self-defense, fearing for their lives after years of psychological, emotional, and sexual abuse. It was Lyle, the older brother, 25 years old at the time, who took the stand first and under direct examination admitted that, yes, he did kill his parents.
Did you love your mom and dad?
Yes.
And on August 20th, 1989, did you and your brother kill your mother and father?
Yes.
Did you kill them for money? Is that no?
No.
Did you kill them because you wanted to pay them back for the way they had treated you?
No.
Why did you kill your parents?
Because we were afraid.
Lyle would then take the jury through his childhood, which he testified was filled with abuse of all kinds.
My dad would.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there because we've already heard that part. Okay, so now I'm going to play what Johnny Depp's attorney had to say about the case and when he shared his thoughts on it as far as their appeal. Okay, so likes up, everyone, please like and share. I'm going to put an overlay up on the screen. So what are you all thinking about this? And here's the thing. I want you to pay attention because the young man from Menudo, who's now an adult, of course, Roy Rosello, he says that he was drugged and raped by Jose Menendez. This is a common thing in the music industry when these things are done, when these things are allegedly done to teenage boys and girls. Okay, this is something that is very often said to be the case. But let's talk about it before I show this video of what the attorney had to say. Okay, abuse of minors in the entertainment industry. Judy Garland, Corey Haim, Shirley Temple, Todd Bridges. I could go on and on. Now, the entertainment industry has a history of abusing minors. Although there are few statistics to accurately measure the number of abused minors in the industry, many former child entertainers have come forward to shine a spotlight on the dark side of the industry. Now, here's the thing. Some of these people that are abused are not in the industry, many their parents are. And their parents are PDF files who do these things to other people's children. But the same people who do these things to other people's children very often do these things to their own children. Let us not forget about R. Kelly, whose daughter has recently come out in a documentary alleging that R. Kelly did the same things to her that he did to other victims. Now, Jeffrey Cooper is a member of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, okay, as a sound mixing studio architect. He is also guilty of molestation. Okay, on May 9th, the 70-year-old Film Academy member's criminal trial for 8 counts of S-abuse began. Cooper was found guilty of 3 counts of child abuse, S-abuse, on May the 20th, while Judge Alan Schneider declared a mistrial for the remaining 5 counts. Now, Cooper pleaded not guilty to all 8 charges after being arrested by LA Special Victims Unit detectives in June of 2018. Cooper reportedly committed lewd acts against 2 underage girls, with the first offense happening in 2006. Cooper is scheduled for sentencing June the 1st when he faces 12 years in prison. Now, mind you, this is an old article from 2022. Okay, now with that all being said, incidents of S-abuse between minors and predators in the entertainment industry have dated as far back as the 1920s. Okay, please pay attention. And I do believe that I've shown you all the footage of Shirley Temple Black in her later years, what she said happened to her. Okay, and then let's not forget Judy Garland from The Wizard of Oz. That's why she lived a life of being hooked on drugs and having problems with alcohol abuse, because she was supposedly given barbiturates and other drugs when she was like 12 and 13 years old. Okay, and they told her this was for her to lose weight, and they were also saying they were trying to hide her shape and stuff like that. But when you're giving a child those sorts of things, it also takes them out of their right frame of memory. So when certain things are done to them, they don't even know what's going on or they don't remember. Okay, or look at the movie Blink Twice. But let's continue. Now, because Hollywood directors, producers, agents, and actors, and all of those people in the music industry who have executive and powerful positions, okay, are deemed so powerful, there are many people willing to turn a blind eye to their predatory natures, just like in the case of Diddy, sometimes including the victim's own parents. Okay, in many of the cases, these people pimp their kids out, just like in the case of R. Kelly. Some of those parents, in my opinion, were complicit, and the same thing with Diddy, as far as I'm concerned. Some of those parents should have known not to be sending their children to stay with grown people that they're not related to, okay, for lengthy amounts of time. What does that have to do with them getting in the entertainment business? What does that have to do with them getting signed to a deal? Okay, they should have known something was going on, and didn't they hear the rumors about other child stars who had said such things? I just have a whole lot of questions. Now, so goes on to say that just like many people do not want to come to terms with the fact that their favorite entertainers are S-abusing children, many people do not want to discuss the role that starstruck parents play in their children's own abuse. Now, there are some parents who genuinely may not know of the children's abuse. However, there are other parents who are willing to do whatever it takes, okay, for their children to become famous. Now, they know about the casting couch, and they know that it includes men, women, and even boys and girls, okay? Now, another common reason for the S-abuse of minors is prevalent in the entertainment and music industry is due to blackmail. Please pay attention. Diddy, anyone? Okay, the key players in the entertainment industry have the resources necessary to control the legal process. Parents and minors who want to come forward and expose predators in the industry are threatened and coerced into remaining silent. Or minors who have been S-abused fail to come forward for the same reasons that other S-assault victims do not come forward: fear of not being believed. So in the entertainment and music industry, the S-abuse of minors often begins with grooming. Grooming is a process that predators use to lure S-assault victims in and to fool them into gaining their trust. Because aspiring young actors could also idolize the entertainers or the directors, it's easy for the minors to trust these predators. They may mistake the character an older actor portrays for the real person, okay? Now, there's blurred lines between social norms in some cases. Another way that children S abuse in the entertainment and music industry happens is due to the blurred lines between what is usually acceptable and unacceptable. Outside of the entertainment industry, there are very few occasions where parents would leave their children with other adults unsupervised for hours or even days. Think about it. Who does that? These people in the entertainment industry, they will do this with their kids. In the music industry, they'll do this with their children. Just let people, and here's the thing, Corey Haim and Corey Feldman both said that when they were teenagers, like 13 and 14 years old, a manager or one of the execs from the movie studios would come to pick them up and tell the parents, oh, we're taking them to a party. And then they'd get to the party and there's grown people there. There'd be a few children, but there was all these adults. And why do you think the children were brought there? So the adults could pick who they wanted. It goes back to what Allie Carter said in her allegations. Okay. So these parents didn't think anything was shady about that. Why are your kids 13 and 14 going to a party that starts at night and a grown person's picking them up and you're not invited? If there's going to be adults there, why aren't the parents invited to come along with their kids? These are questions that I would have been asking as a parent. But if you're a thirsty parent who's trying to get fame, fortune, and success and money for your child so that you can live off of it at their expense, well, then you don't have a problem with that and you ask no questions. Please pay attention. Now, there are even fewer occasions where parents would be okay with allowing their children to spend the night with other adults unsupervised or leave them with them for weeks at a time. However, these acts are common within the entertainment industry and the music industry under the guise of work. Now, from the time that children consider working in the entertainment industry and music industry, they are treated as adults and isolated from their parents. Don't y'all find that suspicious? The casting couch. Now, another factor that plays a role into child S abuse within the entertainment and music industry is the casting couch. You see, the casting couch is a common and unethical practice that encourages inappropriate sexual activity between a key player in entertainment and music and a person who wants to break into the industry. Even seasoned entertainers still have to struggle with the idea of participating in the casting couch. Now, the casting couch is a form of extortion where a predator promises a victim an entertainment or a music opportunity in exchange for S-acts. What like Christian Keys was talking about when he said that some man, a billionaire, offered him $100,000 to see him naked. Okay? Victims who deny engaging in these acts will not be considered for certain entertainment opportunities. Now, even though the entertainment industry has a history of S abuse towards children, and so does the music industry, several pieces of legislation have assisted in cracking down on the problem. One of the best methods of relief for victims of child S assault is that there is no longer a statute of limitations on these types of cases. Instead of the average 3-year limit to file a lawsuit, victims of child S assault now have a 10-year time limit to take legal action against negligent parties for certain felony S assault crimes, and there is no statute of limitations. And that means that the assault could have taken place 20 years ago, and a victim may still be eligible to file a lawsuit against the predator that assaulted them. Now, S assault victims can also file lawsuits against multiple parties who were complicit in their abuse. If the S abuse took place at a business, a church, or a production company, or a studio, these entities can also be held liable for a minor's S assault. And if you or your child has been the victim of S assault, abuse, or harassment, let attorneys or find someone who can help you, and your child clearly needs to get guidance and some sort of trauma therapy, they say. So, like I told you all, yeah, this definitely has some parallels to Diddy's case. Okay, drugging, messing around with minors, and then even doing this to your own children sounds a lot like R. Kelly's daughter, as I told you guys. Now, let's hear what Johnny Depp's attorney had to say. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance. I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to put an overlay up. Hold on just a moment, beloveds. And while I'm doing this, let's have another word from my sponsor while I get this overlay.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so with that all been said, you can purchase 12 Tribes for your hair at Etsy.com. Look for Lisa Crafts, and you can also purchase it at Walmart.com. Okay, so let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance.
I mean, it's crazy to think about it. Like,
the announcement of a lawsuit, but when you hear these statements, it's something that I thought about. Now, I want to get into the idea of what will happen to these brothers. Could they be released from prison? Let me first ask your opinion on this. I've been asking everybody's opinion on this. Do you think the DA, George Gascon, responding to this habeas motion a year after it was filed, when this show is coming out, he's up for re-election in California. Do you think that this is all motivated more by politics, or do you think this is all motivated by the law? And by the way, not only has a lot of people talked about it, Kim Kardashian has visited the brothers in prison, has advocated for their release. But do you think this decision by the DA's office to look at this evidence now and maybe consider signing on to the habeas motion or trying?
Now, if you ask me, Kim Kardashian is advocating for their release because I'm sure that Kim Kardashian, now this is my opinion and pure speculation, but I do believe that Kim Kardashian knows exactly what goes on in both the music and the entertainment industry. So she likely believes that they're telling the truth. Well, it's clear she believes they're telling the truth about why they did it, but I believe that's why she has empathy for them, because she knows what goes on. And I'm not saying that she's not a part of it, because I think that she does some shady stuff herself. I mean, if you just look at her relationship with Balenciaga, okay, please pay attention.
Trying to recall the sentence? What do you think? Motive, politics, or law?
Well, I don't want to be cynical, and certainly don't want to speculate too much, but the timing you mentioned, that he's signing on so much after the original filing, does suggest that other factors, including perhaps the publicity, could be at play. And this is an elective office, so it wouldn't be beyond the pale.
Yes, I absolutely think that he is doing this as a clout chase, okay? Because this has been done for a year ago. Now, all of a sudden, it's time for election, and here he comes, and acting as though he really wants to take a second look. Yeah, this is politically motivated. In my opinion, he is politically motivated. But nonetheless, as long as they get a second chance.
A possibility.
Can I give you my take? And I'm curious your thought. My take is the law hasn't changed. What do I mean by that? The brothers have been fighting this for years. They have filed a number of appeals, habeas motions, all been denied. And it was held by other courts that it wasn't a mistake to not include every piece of sexual abuse evidence in the second trial, that it was actually cumulative, that it wasn't a mistake to not instruct the jury on imperfect self-defense in the second trial, because even if you assume the brothers were abused and they were in fear for their life, that fear wasn't of imminent harm. It was a general fear that they would be killed in the future. They planned the killings. They bought the gun. They bought the ammunition. They shot their parents while watching television. So even if we assume that this new evidence, the letter, the declaration, is real, in my opinion, from a legal point of view, this seems like murder, not manslaughter. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there should be a new trial. Maybe a jury should hear this. You tell me. I mean, there's a difference between, I guess, the jury should hear this versus they shouldn't hear this, because multiple courts have said it wasn't a mistake what happened in the second trial. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think you make an excellent point. I mean, this certainly seems quite premeditated, irrespective of what Jose may or may not have done, and the timing is somewhat suspect. But it will be quite interesting to see how far the DA goes and whether he will bump it down to manslaughter and let them go, or whether there will be another trial.
Here's the thing. If they have a new trial and they present this evidence and they're allowed to present this evidence, there's a very, very strong likelihood these brothers could be convicted of manslaughter and not murder and time served. Okay. But my opinion is the courts have said it shouldn't be introduced and they're not entitled to self-defense. Prosecution didn't argue that properly in the first trial. They did in the second. So if I'm just basing it off of the courts, that's my opinion. Now, the idea of a new trial, though, do you think that's likely? I mean, it's so old. The witnesses, I don't even know if they're available. It seems that it might be a case of we're going to move now to try to just throw this conviction out, not even have a new trial, maybe move to recall the sentence.
How many single-family houses, single-family homes would it take to equal one multifamily deal like this? Let's compare the
sentence. Do you think that's more likely?
I do. I think that is more likely because I think the new trial would be a circus. As you said, it's so stale. The evidence is stale that a wiser move, to the extent that the DA is determined to do this, would be a recall of the sentence and basically calling it a day with time served. Now, whether that's a just result, I don't know, but that I think is more likely.
You think a court would sign off on that? So even if the DA were to say, we're going to push for this sentence to be recalled and resentenced to manslaughter, time served, released, you think a court would agree to that?
I think it depends on the judge. I mean, I think it really could come down. I mean, as you said, a judge could easily take your view that this was a brutal, premeditated murder, especially with respect to the mother. I mean, if you honestly believe that the father committed the sexual abuse, you might be more inclined as a judge to bump it to manslaughter. But it's harder to justify, at least to me, it seems harder to justify killing of the mother, even if the mother were aware of it. I think there's a moral difference between actually abusing someone and knowing about it, not exonerating the person who merely knows. But I don't see how you get around even an imperfect self-defense, the murder of the mother.
Well, look, it reminds me of the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case, very high profile. And in that situation, self-defense wasn't on the table. What it was, and she was clearly abused, clearly abused. Mm-hmm. She didn't kill her mother. Her mother would have been arrested, but she killed her mother, pled guilty to second-degree murder. Her boyfriend was found guilty of murder. That was a crime. And that was a situation where even though there was tremendous, horrific abuse, doesn't entitle you to murder someone unless your life is in danger at that moment.
Okay, with that all been said, I'm going to stop right there. Now, he's entitled to his opinion, but I disagree with him. Here's the thing. I believe that he doesn't have any sympathy for them, as many people may not, because they're men. Because I find it interesting that Clara Harris, who murdered her husband who was cheating, she only got 20 years. She murdered her husband. Her husband was cheating on her. She gets in her car with his 16-year-old daughter, not her daughter, the husband's daughter. She gets in the car with the daughter and she drives over him in a parking lot. She literally does a donut, comes back and drives over him again. His body flips up on the car. His teeth fall out. There's like pieces of his body across the parking lot. This woman gets 20 years. But they get life without parole. Now, of course, what they did was heinous. But at the end of the day, I'm sorry, her reason for doing what she did was nowhere near as, in comparison to theirs. And then when they talk about premeditation, well, yes, it was premeditated. We know that. They went and purchased the guns. They, established alibis. They gave their story and all of that. They told lies and all of that. Yes, they absolutely did. And here's the thing for those of you who don't know, how Eric and Lyle initially got caught is because they were seeing a therapist. They went to speak to their therapist, and Eric ended up telling the therapist everything that they did. Now, Lyle wasn't there at the time, but Eric told him everything that happened. The therapist, due to patient confidentiality, wasn't going to say anything. What happened is there was another patient that the therapist was having an affair with, and then the therapist told her about the confession. Okay, they both ended up coming to the office after the therapist finds out from Eric what happens. He had both of them come to the office, and they both told the story, and he recorded it. So when the patient who's messing around with the therapist gets upset with him and he's no longer wanting to date her or whatever, well, as an act of revenge, she reports to the police that he has the confession on tape of Eric and Lau Menendez. So that's how the police knew for a fact that they had something to do with it. The police were already watching them because of all of the large amounts of money that they had spent. So that's how that all went. But at the end of the day, I don't think there should be another trial. I think that they spent 35 years in prison. I don't think that they're a danger to society. They killed the people who hurt them, the people who were doing harm to them. That's just my opinion. And I don't think that they're a danger at the end of the day. Now, some could disagree, but also the other thing is, you know, the thing about Eric is Eric Eric brings up the fact of, even though people are supporting them, he says don't minimize what they did, because he understands and knows what they did was heinous, okay? And that impacted a lot of people's lives. Another thing is, when people say, well, this happened to them when they were children, they were teenagers, or Eric was 18 and Lyle was 21. They were adults at that time. They could have just moved out and left. Yeah, they could have. Why didn't they just do that? I don't know. We may never know. At the end of the day, when people suffer trauma, specifically childhood trauma, you never know what they're thinking or why they're thinking the way that they do. You never know how and why they're processing certain information in the way that they are. I have dealt and counseled children who have been abused, both as assaulted and both physically abused, verbally abused, neglecting, all of that. And one thing that I got from those who were as assaulted is that it seems to be something that is triggering and traumatizing for them, something that may impact them for the rest of their lives. So if this happened to you when you're 6 to 8 years old, even when you're 18 and 20 years old, you still remember these things. And also, if you're still living in the house with the predator who did this to you, what happens as you grow older, in most cases, I would imagine, is that you get more and more angry. You feel like this person did this to you when you were helpless, when you couldn't defend yourself. And now this person is still belittling you on a daily basis, being so angry, controlling, and hostile to you, hitting you, and they're not assaulting you, assaulting you anymore. But at the end of the day, they're still doing all these other things. And I think that these things just start to add up and compound and escalate until you finally snap. It's almost like a crime of passion. That's just my opinion from my legal aspect of it. That's how I view it. So I think they should be let out with time served. We already know it's premeditated, like I said. It's when they sat there and planned it all out and lay in wait. They absolutely did. Okay, at the end of the day, the mother wasn't innocent in all of this. And also, let's not forget, now the guy is sitting there talking to the attorney. That was Johnny Depp's attorney, by the way, speaking. The guy who was talking to him was saying there has no excuse for why they did it to the mother. Well, if he researched the case thoroughly, he would know that they implied that the mother did things to them too. She was also doing inappropriate things to them, according to them. Not only that she didn't say anything about what the father was doing and said, hey, well, your father has to punish you sometimes. He loves you. And didn't say anything, didn't try to intervene, didn't try to do anything to stop him, didn't even get on him about it. But they say that she was also doing things to them, okay? Not as graphic as the father, not to the degree or extent that the father was doing, but doing certain things, okay? So with that all being said, I'm sorry, that would make someone harbor hatred and resentment. And at the end of the day, if somebody's going to take out somebody for money, their parents specifically, I don't think they would have carried out in that sort of fashion, okay? The way they took out their parents, that showed an intense amount of hatred, okay? They hated them. That's what that seemed like to me. And if their father did the things that they say he did, well, they had every reason to hate him, as far as I'm concerned. And if their mother was complicit, I feel like they had every reason to hate her. Not saying that they had a reason or that it was justified for them killing them, but I could also understand why they did it. That's just me. Okay? So with that all being said, a lot of nefarious things that go on in the music industry and the entertainment industry. And I do believe that the father was also grooming them. Remember when Lyle said on the stand that his father was inserting things into his, the toothbrush, something to do with a shaving kit or something like that. And then finally it was full on. Yeah, he was grooming him. He was prepping him. He was preparing him. That's what he was doing. And then think about how Lyle said that he did the same thing to his little brother. When he was 8 years old, he did that to his brother, who was probably at the time about 5 or 6. Okay. So this is all very sad and drastic at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned. So hopefully they'll be able to get out. But it isn't just that letter. Here's another thing though, and they didn't mention this. But the cousin, one of the cousins who's now deceased, the same cousin who had that letter, his mother found it in his belongings after his death. And that's when she turned the letter in. But that same cousin, if I'm not mistaken, was the cousin who got on the witness stand during the first trial and talked about the fact that Eric had told him what the father was doing. Okay. So this to me proves that they didn't just concoct this story to get off for what they did. They didn't just make this up impromptu. This is something that had already been going on and something that had been festering. And here's another thing too. There's so many details to this case. I can't possibly get into all of them because I've literally researched this case for years before it even got renewed attention. But one of the things I remember Eric saying about the mother is there was a camp that they used to go to, and neither of them liked being there. And so they would call home begging, can they come back? Telling the mom, we want to come back, we miss you. And the father would be out of town on business. The mother, I guess she'd want to be home by herself. Who knows? They said she had a drinking issue, but that's alleged. But she would not even accept their calls. They were calling her collect. She would not accept the calls after a point because she didn't want to go and get them. And then finally, one day, when she did decide to go get Eric, Lyle wasn't there, but she went to get Eric. Eric said she was so mean and nasty to him in the car that she basically was just going off on him, telling him that she was so embarrassed, and that he was, just acting like a little punk and all this stuff, and just going in on him because he wanted to leave because he, basically because he was crying and whining. So the mother seemed to me that she was just self-absorbed and didn't care about anyone but herself and her husband, that she had no empathy and sympathy towards her own children. What kind of parent has your children out of town at a camp and you don't even give a darn to go and get them or to even answer their phone calls to see what they want and why they're so desperate to come home? What's going on with them? Do you even care? It seems to me that she didn't. So I think that they had an intense amount of hatred for her as well. And if all the things they've said are true, I find that it's with good reason. Okay, I find it's with good reason. Okay, and I'm so glad that the young man from Menudo has now come out and told the truth. And that makes me wonder how many other young teenage boys that Jose Menendez was dealing with as he was an executive for RCA Records did he possibly do things to? Some of them likely have never said anything and maybe never will. Okay, we don't know the extent, but we know that we've heard all these nefarious stories and we've seen how these kids turn out. And look at it like this. These two, Eric and Lyle, they murdered their parents. But what about Dana Plato from Different Strokes? She also had things done to her when she was in the entertainment industry, and then she turned to drugs, ended up robbing a store, and then she died. I believe she took her own life. And then you have Corey Feldman and Corey Haim, who for years were ringing the alarm, telling people what was going on. Okay. And then Corey Haim ended up dying of a drug overdose. And they both, I do believe, had issues with drugs. Let's not forget River Phoenix, who died of a drug overdose at the age of 23. Okay. What was going on with him in the industry? When you think about Todd Bridges from Different Strokes, said that he also was assaulted when he was in the industry. And look at him. He ended up doing time for attempted murder. Okay. He had a myriad of problems. These children end up on drugs. They end up robbing places. They end up homeless. Look at the guy from Empire. Okay. What is his name? Brashear Gray. Okay, but look at him, how he's living today. Okay, look at Orlando Brown. He seems to clearly have some sort of mental health issues and I believe has done illegal substances. Just look at the pattern of all of this. Okay, these things weren't widely known or spoken about back then. But now that they are, people really should be taking a look and saying, maybe there's some truth to the things that they were saying back then. Okay. And maybe that could help people to understand why they were so angry and had so much hatred in their hearts for their parents. Okay. Now, James says the father has a case against him by the Menudo band, the band Ricky Martin was a part of. Yes, I showed that, beloved. You may have come in late, but I did show that. And that's one of the main elements that's going to be used to try to get them off. Because not only did he come out and say the father did that to him, but he says that he drugged him and did it. Okay, the same things that have been alleged in Diddy's case. Okay, and then we've heard the rumors about Diddy and young boys. We've also know that the feds were looking into Diddy for having messed around with young boys back as far back as 2011. So this seems to be something that's commonplace in the music and entertainment industry. Okay. So with that all being said, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Please like and share, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I hope you enjoy the rest of this beautiful day, and I will see you all in the morning for your morning wake-up call. Until next time, beloveds, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember to keep the Most High first in your lives. Peace.
Gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece. This time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got